Hi, my name is Chris. I'm a deer manager on an estate in East Anglia. We've got 10,500 acres, which is home to wild deer, which is red deer, roe, muntjac and a few fallow. So I'm employed on the estate to manage the wild population of deer, which comprises of red deer, roe, muntjac and a few fallow. We manage the deer for three reasons really. The first one, or most important to me, is for the health and welfare of the deer themselves. And then we also manage the deer for reducing the damage to agricultural crops and also reducing the damage to woodland and the habitat that a lot of the other wildlife in the UK depends on to survive. So we're managing the deer for their own health and welfare. That's really because if the population gets too big, then the chances of illness and disease spreading into the herd increase. So we're looking to maintain good body weights or body condition. We're also looking to get the deer to produce the best antlers possible because, quite frankly, when you're looking at the deer, obviously the males are the only ones that have antlers, but that's probably the most impressive thing about a deer. So we want to try and get them to grow the best antlers possible. So we're doing that by selectively culling individuals with weak antlers, or equally if we come across individuals that have bad body condition or any signs of illness, we'll cull those out first. So although managing the deer for their own benefit is my primary reason for being a deer manager, we'll go and have a look at some of the other reasons why we manage the deer and the impacts they have on the estate. Yeah, so we've come to one of the areas at the moment which is causing concern for our farmers. This is quite a small potato field for us, and it's mainly damaged from red deer, so they're coming out of our big wood, which is over here, coming across at night. And some of the damage is, obviously they're eating the potatoes, but a lot of the damage is just where the red deer are walking across the rows and kicking the potatoes out. So obviously when they come to harvest that, they're going to be weeding out a lot of green potatoes that have been damaged by the light. So we've come over to this small area of the field, and basically the damage that's occurring is the deer are obviously eating some of the potatoes, but also just by moving over the rows, the red deer in particular are kicking the potatoes out of the ground. So you end up with the green on the potatoes, which obviously they'll weed out when they harvest them, so they'll lose quite a lot of crop through green potatoes. The problem we have is the supermarket dictates the size. So once they're the size the supermarket wants, the grower will spray the crop off and cut all the leaves off. And then this field could sit here for a month before it's actually harvested. So it's quite vulnerable. So all we do at the moment is we're putting bangers out on here to try and keep the deer off at night. And also, as much as possible, I'm coming around and just moving deer off the area. So we've come out to a maize field. This is maize for an anaerobic digester. So it's going to be turned into gas and pumped into the gas grid. And again, we're just on the edge of our big wood here. And the problem is the red deer are coming out, and as you can see, eating the maize off quite heavily for the first sort of 40-50 metres. So it's just a reduced amount of crop when they come to cut it that will go into the digester. So in the woodland here, probably the most obvious sign of deer damage is if you look on the tree line, whatever species of deer you've got, they can eat the leaves up to a certain level. So because we've got the red deer in here, they're eating the leaves up to about 5 or 6 foot. So we've got quite a definite browse line running all the way through the wood. And then the combination of muntjac, roe and red deer in this particular wood is stopping the regeneration of the hazel at the trunks of the trees. Also, when you look in here, you can see it's pretty much just standard cover of grass on the floor. There isn't really much of an understory because obviously the deer are eating anything that tries to regenerate. So that's one of the reasons we're controlling the deer, is to try and get the regeneration back in the woodland again, and so it's more diverse for lots of wildlife. So we've just come into the wood to have a closer look at this old hazel stall, and historically this would have been coppiced every sort of 7 to 10 years, but it hasn't been done for, well, 50, 60, 70 years. So it's regenerating quite slowly, and what little is regenerating is just getting eaten off straight away by the deer. So that's a major problem because we're losing that layer of nesting habitat for songbirds. So we come onto the other side of the ride from where we were looking at the old damaged hazel stalls, and inside the fence this area was coppiced as it would have been done traditionally. So the same age stalls, sort of 50, 60, 70 years old, have regenerated. So you can see the difference without the deer in the area. You get a lot more understory in there, get bramble growth, and you're getting the leaf growth and branches growing from the bottom of the hazel, which is offering nesting habitat for songbirds and other species of wildlife. So we've been to have a look at the impacts that deer have had on the estate, in the farmland and the woodland, and you know, you can imagine how much more damage there would be if we weren't controlling the deer in the numbers we are at the moment. It's important to say that that control is still, it produces a sustainable harvest of deer every year. So the population isn't dramatically going down or up, it's just remaining at a rough level. And it's important to say as well that it's obviously, this is all funded by the estate that I work for, and that's primarily funded by taking people out stalking. So people come stalking for a hobby because they enjoy being out and they enjoy harvesting a deer, and then ultimately the majority of people now are taking that carcass home with them and butchering it so they can feed their family on the meat that they've gone out and hunted themselves.
Joining the National Gamekeepers Organisation is a choice for all shooters and gamekeepers. Help promote, protect gamekeeping, conservation and shooting as we know it today. Get on the front foot. Support an organisation that will defend what you love and we do. NGO membership comes with £10 million of third-party liability, a dedicated firearms licensing team, legal support, as well as many other members' benefits. Be part of Britain's biggest conservation movement.